Understanding commercial insurance. We're going to talk about that on this segment of the Gig Geezer. I'm putting the word out there for this Wednesday, February 19, 2025 at 9 o'clock Eastern with my weekly live stream. I'm speaking. I don't have guests lined up because my guests are going to be you, in which I'm going to provide some free game with any questions that you have in regarding Sprinter/cargo van ownership, or for that matter, gig apps, or for that matter, business, or for that matter, delivery and transport. So what we're going to do is take an hour out. We're going to talk, and I'm going to try to answer as many questions as I can. In fact, that's what I'm trying to do with this particular segment of the Gig Geezer. So check it out. Check it out in its entirety. It's free game, something that you don't have to pay for. If this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, hey, thanks for coming by. And if you would not mind, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I feel as if I've not done my part as a licensed insurance agent when it comes to explaining commercial insurance that's needed when you're operating in the delivery and transport space. What prompted me to do this segment of the Gig Geezer was my having to complete my education credits for the next 2 years. This is something that is required of any licensed insurance agent based on their line or lines of authority. My lines of authority are in life, accident, and health, and separately in property and casualty. The line of insurance that covers any discussion about commercial insurance is under property and casualty. And for that matter, if it involves your personal auto policy or your homeowner insurance or anything other than anything that's dealing with property, that or your business, it's going to fall under commercial insurance. I mentioned in my most recent segment of the Gig Geezer how I felt that maintaining one's operating authority under the FMCSA, which is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, is a testament of one maintaining their commercial insurance. What I've never really specified was the individuals maintaining their commercial liability and cargo insurance. But allow me to break down some things. While these things may be new to some, may be a review for others, and maybe for some of you, simply providing clarification of things of what you've actually been paying for. Now, when you apply for your USDOT number and your MC number or motor carrier number, respectively, the FMCSA requires operators to maintain a minimum of $300,000 combined single limit liability insurance and a minimum of $50,000 cargo insurance. Most places that you may do business with are going to require you to maintain, in many cases, $1 million combined single limit liability insurance and $100,000 cargo insurance. The biggest complaint that many of you have, including myself, is the cost for commercial liability insurance for your vehicle. I've explained on many occasions that there's no cookie cutter formula for rates. Our rates, our premiums are based on many factors. It's going to be based on your driving record, your insurance score, which is this calculation of your credit score and driving record, your age, the vehicle that you're insuring, whether the vehicle is financed or paid for, and your coverage limits, and also where you live. So when I recall certain individuals in past Gig Geezer segments attempting to tell me how I've been ripped off or that I'm passing along bad information and I don't know what I'm talking about, that person has not passed a 150 question test that was proctored, or that person has not since 2014 completed continued educating hours on five separate occasions to maintain licensing in that specific line of authority. Nor also that person has attempted to write any commercial business for an insurance company. Again, what I'm sharing is both as a customer and as a licensed insurance agent, and that I agree with you for the most part. The cost of insurance is a joke. It's basically a cash grab. Companies know we need it, and there aren't many companies that offer the limits of insurance that many of us need who operate on the roads. So then, what are the components to your commercial liability insurance. The common term used with commercial liability insurance is associated with your vehicle. And the two terms that you often may hear are bodily injury and property damage under a single limit. Whereas most of us, when it involves our personal vehicle coverage, and that's we will have what's called split limits, and that's where you have bodily injury and property damage. In South Carolina, there's a term that we use, the state minimum being 25, 50, 25. The 25, 50 is for bodily injury. And for further explanation, the first number, 25, is for the most that your policy will pay for bodily injury that you're liable for a single person. And the 50,000 is for the most that your policy will pay for all persons involved that you may be liable for their bodily injuries in an incident. And then the 25,000 is for property damage. And that is damage that you've caused that you're liable for. It could be to another person's vehicle. It could be where you hit a light post, ran over a stop sign, ran into a building. And from that amount, what I learned years ago was that from that property damage amount, that's what pays for the other person's use of a rental vehicle. So all that comes out of that 25,000 in that example. So that means whether you're using $300,000 or $1 million, your commercial liability portion of your policy covers up to $300,000 for both bodily injury and or property damage, or in the case of $1 million, up to $1 million that it will pay out total for bodily injury and or property damage. Your cargo insurance is pretty straightforward. That is coverage that it covers for the freight or the cargo that you're transporting in your vehicle, your covered vehicle, up to $50,000 or $100,000. Those are typically the common limits that are taken out for cargo insurance. Now, nobody's ever asked me the question, so I'm going to throw this question out there as a freebie. And that is, are you then required by the USDOT or FMCSA to carry commercial general liability insurance? The answer is no. That is something that is required by the people that you're doing business with. So recently, for example, when I shared when I shared how I'd approached some places involving my cash game operations, each place asked me for a certificate of insurance. Specifically, what they were looking for is whether I had commercial general liability. So then, what is commercial general liability insurance? If you search the internet, it involves coverages for damages and injuries to a third party caused by your business or what your business may be liable for. So here are some examples that I can give you when it involves commercial general liability. One example that I've given is, let's say that there's some fluid that's coming from up under your vehicle and somebody happens to walk by and you happen to be in the vicinity and seeing all this, and this fluid is coming out from your vehicle. That person slips, falls, and winds up needing medical attention. Your business may be liable for that, and that may come under that may come out of your pocket, or if you happen to have commercial general liability insurance, that's where it's going to come from. Another example, you're delivering a stove or refrigerator and you damage a wall or a door in the process. That may come out of your pocket, or it may be a claim against your commercial general liability policy. Or let's say that you're operating your van is used to operate a food trailer. Or better yet, you may operate a mobile barbershop or tire repair. Somehow in these scenarios now, let's say if a person gets sick from the food that you prepare, or a person suffers irritated skin or a skin burn, or the tire comes off and the customer is involved in an accident. These may be claims that may be filed against your commercial general liability or against you where it's coming out of your pocket. So, well, I've talked for about 7-8 minutes or so. And by the way, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer and any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome the comments in the section below. So let's go over then your certificate of insurance and the boxes that are normally checked off by an insurance agent or carrier. And this is pretty much going to sum up everything that I've been talking about with commercial general liability. And hopefully all this will give you a better understanding. So you look here, this is actually my certificate of insurance for my commercial. This is actually my certificate of insurance that I send to people. What's whited out is my policy number and other pertinent information. But you see here where the numbers and the X's, that's what I'm going to go over. Now, over on the left side, it says type of insurance. This upper section says general liability. That is actually your commercial general liability coverages. And it says, and you mark, and your agent or your insurance carrier is going to mark that being commercial general liability coverage. Then it has occurrence and policy. There's an amount that the policy is going to pay per occurrence. So each time something happens, the most the policy is going to pay is $1 million, as you see over here, each occurrence. However, it says general aggregate limits apply for policy. That means policy period. Your commercial general liability coverage, your commercial coverages are typically 1-year policies. So in my case, as you see here, the effective date of policy is January 17 to January 17, 2025 to 2026. So then the aggregate is the most that it's going to pay in a year. And that aggregate is this $2 million number. So the most that this policy is going to pay out altogether is $2 million. It's going to pay out per claim up to $1 million, but then it's capped at $2 million for a year. Now, there's these others: damage rented to premises. That's damage. It'll pay up to $100,000 for stuff that's rented. Medical expense. So if a person slips and fall, the most your policy is going to pay is $5,000. So that means like for that's going to be for like an ambulance or going to emergency room. Then there's personal injury, personal and advertising injury. That is if somebody sues you for like libel and slander or false advertising. That's where you start saying things about your competitors or other people, and people feel that they've been overly offended by it, and so therefore they're going to sue you. And so that's where that $1 million come from. And then I mentioned general aggregate. I've explained that. And then products completed or aggregate. Products completed. That is, for example, you operate a food trailer. You make some food, the person gets sick. It's a product completed. Or you repair a tire, or you put on a tire, you mount a tire, and that tire comes off because you didn't secure all the lug nuts. That's going to come out that $1 million or $2 million aggregate. Now, the next section is automobile liability. I mentioned here on scheduled autos, it could be any auto that could be operated by you in a business, but I use scheduled auto because I have scheduled auto is just one way of declaring specific vehicles on your policy. And some places, if you have multiple vehicles, you may want to specifically note which vehicles are covered under the policy instead of just any random vehicle. So there's the policy period, January 17 to January 26, and the combined single limit. That's what they're looking for. It's going to be most places that you do business with, they're going to look for 1 million, but there are places that may go with 300,000, 500,000, 750,000. But in the commercial realm, most people in the delivery transport space are looking for that number. And then down here, it says marked off motor truck cargo, and you see the policy period, and then the limit is 100,000. So that is a pretty that's a pretty thorough explanation of your commercial insurance. Hopefully I've answered some questions for you in this segment of the Gig Geezer. And if you have any other questions, I do recommend that you contact your local licensed insurance agent in your state, because they're going to know about things that are specific for your state. What I've just shared is general terms, general numbers that will give you some basic understanding that you may be able to go back to your local agent and ask those questions. Now, if you're in South Carolina, then I can answer more specific questions. But that's all I have, again, to share for this segment, the Gig Geezer. If you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane. As always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.